Hello and welcome to this session on Feeding Your Diabetes. I'm Pat Dunn. Feeding Your Diabetes includes carbohydrates and carb counting, fats, as well as meal and snack planning. Your meal plan helps you by helping you reach your glucose, blood pressure, and cholesterol goals. Helps you keep your weight under control, as well as knowing what to eat, how much to eat, and when to eat. Your meal plan should be based on what you like to eat and drink, your work schedule, your health status, how many calories you need, and what your exercise schedule is. Carbohydrates are an important part of a healthy meal plan, but they do raise your blood glucose levels the most. Keeping the amount consistent can help you reach your blood glucose goals. Many meal plans include 3 to 4 carbohydrate servings per meal, and each carbohydrate serving equals 15 grams of carbohydrate. So you're looking at about 45 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per meal. Use carbohydrate tables and food labels to learn more about serving sizes. Carbohydrates are good and healthy foods. In fact, high intakes of carbohydrates are associated with low rates of heart disease. But overconsumption of carbohydrates can lead to increased triglycerides and lower HDLs, as well as a high blood sugar. The dietary recommendation for carbohydrates is that 60 to 65% of your calories come from carbohydrates, but less than 10% should come from simple carbohydrates. Major sources of carbohydrates include complex carbs, like what's found in barleys and breads and cereals and corn and vegetables and fruits. Simple carbohydrates and some fruits can also be in the simple category, but they tend to be the sweets, candies, cookies, fruits and fruit juices, sodas and syrups, and highly processed and refined and sweetened foods. Those are all in the simple sugar category. So what is a carbohydrate and what is a serving? 15 grams of carbohydrates include a small apple, a half of a large bagel, a small banana, 1 biscuit, 1 slice of bread, a 2-inch square piece of cake, 3/4 cup of cereal, a half a cup of corn, 6 crackers, 1 tablespoon of jelly or jam, 1 cup of milk, a half cup of orange juice, a 1/3 cup of cooked pasta, a half a cup of peas, half a cup of mashed potatoes, a half a cup of rice, and 1 tortilla. Another form of carbohydrates are fiber. Fiber basically can't be digested in your gut, and that can be a good thing. High fiber diets are associated with lower rates of heart disease. There's really 2 kinds of fibers, though. There's insoluble fiber, which is good for your GI transit time, but has very little effect on your cholesterol, therefore very little effect on your risk of heart disease. But soluble fiber can lower your cholesterol by about 10 to 20%. The recommendation for fiber is 25 to 35 grams of fiber and about 10 to 15 grams of soluble fiber per day. So what is soluble versus insoluble? Soluble fibers include oat bran and oatmeal, beans and peas, rice bran, barley, citrus, strawberries, and pulp. So a lot of the skin on fruits and vegetables are in the soluble category. Insoluble fibers include whole wheat bread, wheat cereals, and wheat bran, cabbage, beets, carrots, Brussels sprouts, turnips, cauliflower, and apple skin. So what about the fats? Well, with fats, we have what we call the good, the bad, and the ugly. We need to choose fats wisely. Eat less total fat, especially less saturated and trans fat, because both of those raise the LDL, or the bad cholesterol. Choose the kind of fats that help you lower your cholesterol and improve or reduce your risk of heart disease. These include monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, as well as omega-3 fatty acids or fish oils. So we want to eat less of the saturated, trans fats, and cholesterol. And the way we can tell is these fats tend to be hard or solids at room temperature. Sources of saturated fat typically are animal fats, also dairy products, and also tropical oils such as palm and coconut oil. The recommendation for saturated fat is that it be less than 7% of your total calories, which would be 10 grams in an 1,800 calorie meal plan. Trans fats include baked goods like cakes, cookies, donuts, and muffins, many snack foods and crackers, stick margarines, and fried foods tend now to come from trans fats. And then finally, cholesterol. Dietary cholesterol can only come from an animal product. And our recommendation is that you have less than 200 milligrams of dietary cholesterol per day, which shouldn't be confused with the 200 milligram per deciliter of cholesterol in your blood. And so sources of dietary cholesterol are animal products. Eggs, organ meats, shellfish, and dairy products are high in dietary cholesterol. So what do we want to eat more of? We want to eat more monounsaturated oils, polyunsaturated or omega-6, and omega-3 oils, which are fish oils. So the monounsaturated oils are good, probably the best, because they lower your LDL cholesterol without also lowering your HDL cholesterol. We want to see at least 10% of your total calories coming from monounsaturated oils. And these include olive oil, canola, and other forms of avocados, for example. Even peanut oil are examples of monounsaturated oils. Polyunsaturated oils are liquids at room temperature. We also call them omega-6 fatty acids, and they lower your LDL, but unfortunately also lower your HDL cholesterol. So not quite as good as the monounsaturated oils. And these include sunflower, safflower, corn, and soybean oils. And then finally we have omega-3 fatty acids, or fish oils. We know these are good because the Greenland Eskimos have high-fat diets, primarily of fish, and very low rates of heart disease. And we've learned that these are incredibly good, especially for your triglycerides. Fish oils will lower your triglycerides by as much as 25 to 30%. And the major sources are salmon, mackerel, herring, sardines, and trout. And we'd like to see at least 5% of your calories, or about 10 grams, coming from these types of oils. It's very important if you have diabetes to know how to read food labels. It's critical, especially because you need to be able to check and monitor your carbohydrates. So you should always be able to check the grams of carbohydrates on your food label. Always check the servings also, because they may trick you and have multiple servings per container. Check the calories. And then finally, always get in the habit of checking the fat. So what do we do with feeding? The keys to feeding is knowing what carbohydrates are and being able to count your carbohydrates. The better you get at counting your carbohydrates, the more effective you are going to be at monitoring your blood sugar. Over the long term, if you can keep your fat intake and calorie intake under control, that'll also help you keep your weight under control and also help you keep your blood pressure and blood cholesterol under control as well. For the next session, we're going to talk about moving your diabetes, which is physical activity and glucose, burning calories, aerobic exercise, resistance training, intensity of the training, staying safe, and getting started. Carbohydrates are an important part of a healthy meal plan, but they do raise your blood glucose levels the most. Keeping the amount consistent can help you reach your blood glucose goals. Many meal plans include 3 to 4 carbohydrate servings per meal, and each carbohydrate serving equals 15 grams of carbohydrate. So you're looking at about 45 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per meal. Use carbohydrate tables and food labels to learn more about serving sizes.